Hey everybody, Doug here from 2 Plus Stuff. Welcome to While You're Reforging. If this is your first time joining me, this is my weekly show where, instead of doing a pre-recorded video, we just hang out and chat. Usually do a little bit of painting, pick a random topic, that kind of stuff. And so thank you for joining me. It's just to give you something to listen to and chat to while we are all hanging out. So let me move the chat over so where I can see it. And let me know if you are having any problems hearing or seeing me, because seriously 3 minutes ago, Google just became incredibly hard to access. My YouTube went down, everything just kind of shut down. And then it popped right back up without any kind of warning, so it's whatever. It's technology, it sucks. But anyway, basically this show is divided into a few different segments talking about hobby progress. The news for the week is kind of more the dominant thing. And then we usually talk about games played. I don't have any this week, but I will next week, so that's kind of exciting. And so then the last thing is we're going to be talking about what I'd like to see from the next couple Broken Realm books. What I think the leads that they've sown with Marathi are, and kind of cool ideas as to where they can take those. So I'm excited to get into it. Basically what I do is in between those sections, I open it up to questions, and that's a good way to do Q&A rather than me interrupting myself every 2 seconds to be like, hey, this guy, that kind of stuff. A little more lax on that when it comes to the main topic at the end. That's more of a discussion thing, so we'll get there. But anyway, starting off, of course, with hobby progress. Now, if you haven't seen, we actually did quite a bit of hobby progress on Tuesday. I did a marathon stream. All the money from that went to Toys for Tots. I'm just waiting for it to go from the Google account to my bank account, and then I'm going to just put it all together and drop it off. But every cent is accounted for. It's all separate from my other stuff, and so that's a very exciting thing. Thank you guys so much for all of your support. In that time, we threw down the base colors of quite a few of these Ogre Bros, and yeah, we're just building up from there. If you saw how they first got to me, they were these kind of icky contrast paints. Not that contrast paints are icky, but they were done very, very poorly on these. It was way too thin, very splotchy. It was odd. But we are turning them into something cool. So today, when we get to the main topic, I'll point the camera down and I'm going to be painting pretty much, I think, the next layer of flesh, I think, is kind of the next thing I want to do. So yeah, that's all we're going to be doing today. That if you want to see something really cool, go ahead and check out the house, or the mansion rather, that we painted up during the stream over on any of my social media things, the Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever. Pictures are all up there. It looks absolutely phenomenal. And in my downtime, I've been practicing, and I know it doesn't show up super well here, I apologize, more like Blanjitsu style stuff, where it's very muted and has kind of intense umber and red tones to it. So I want to try something new there, but that's a matter of practice, so we will get there. Anyway, Spezia, thank you so much, buddy, dropping some money in the coffee coffers as it were. And yeah, let me ask, so again, not a lot of hobby progress stuff that you guys haven't seen because I did the big marathon stream. Let me ask this, what are you working on? And let me know in the chat. I'm going to grab, what do I need? I'm going to grab my flesh paints. So we are all ready to go later while you guys are answering that. There we go. Cadian flesh tone. That's what I was looking for the whole time. And Kislev. Nope. I'll find that one later. But yeah, Cadian's the predominant one. Just for these guys, I'm going to have some different skin colors, but I had to work with the contrast that was already on there, and so going straight to a generic Caucasian was just certainly the easiest way to make that work. Because they were looking a little rough. If you guys saw the befores. Let's see, painting Sequiturs, still painting my KO, waiting for Christmas box. Nice. Emulsion breaker bottle test for work. I don't know what that means. I'm working on the Penumbral engine, even though I rarely use it in my battles. Yeah, but it's such a cool looking terrain piece. Just having it on a display board just sounds awesome. Let's see. Johan is hanging out with his Shadow Stalkers. Yes. That's awesome. Tonight starts your P-Rat Skaven Blood Bowl team. I love it. I love it. Okay, we're gonna hop over to the news. Save those ogres for me. Oh, Jack, you're always the first person I sell things to. You know it. And we're gonna hop over to the news here. I'm not saving the Beast Claw Raiders though. Those are already up on eBay if anybody wants to take a crack at them. I got a few things up on eBay. What do I got? I got them. I got some couple infinity things. Yeah, that kind of stuff. Anyway, I was just clearing out the closet. I'm cleaning out my closet. Okay, so here we go. We are at the Games Workshop site, and I basically just do a roundup of all the news things that sound interesting to me throughout the week. And so we're going to walk through those. I try to put them in interest of, you know, what's most relevant to me to least, that kind of stuff. But we'll go through it. So Sean Dog says, order the Zinch box. You got your hands on one? You are one of the lucky few, my friend. That's a great box. So here we have our Sunday preview. This was from Sunday after our last show. And we get a full picture of Dire Chasm in all its glory. Now, as I've said multiple times, I'm jumping into the world of Underworld since so many folks play it here locally, and I couldn't find a regular game in the Seattle area, but there are quite a few here, and so I wanted to jump in. I've been playing a lot online, trying to get used to the rules. One thing that's interesting, we'll get to an article later, is it looks like they just did some minor rules tweaks to kind of make things a little bit more streamlined, even more so, which is awesome. And I gotta be honest with you, so I'm going to get this set, okay? Mainly because it has a bunch of universal cards that work with any warband, and tokens and the actual game boards and that kind of stuff, but I have no interest in either warband. Like, straight up, none. Jack, if you're looking for the Slanesh stuff, hit me up, bro. That's about it. If anyone needs the Lumineth, I'm gonna throw them on eBay and that kind of stuff. Like, honestly, I don't like either of them. I don't want to play them, but so anyway, I'm gonna have them and their cards, but I just want everything else because it's a great starter set. I mean, these starter sets, they're generally a really great value in terms of just getting set up. Oh, Jack's looking for both. There we go. Sold. They just tend to be a really great value when it comes to getting everything you need for the game. So if I grab Dire Chasm and one of the war bands that I like, that's far more interesting to me than just owning it to own it. Because the only model from the Lumineth side, models I should say plural, I really dig the bow and I dig the hammer. And I'm curious as to why we don't see whatever this is, right? There's no swordsman unit, right? There's the hammer guys, the spearmen, to quote Warhammer Total War, spearmen! Whenever you click on the spearmen units for high elves, they always make the same sound. It's just awful, awfully high pitched. And then the Slanesh warband, it just does nothing for me. I'm sorry everybody, I'm sorry for everything. But one thing that seems like Underworld's a lab, they test designs. That would make me equally happy and sad. I would love it if they had a place to test designs, but the problem is if they do super well, I want a full army. Like, I still want a full Kurnothi army, like the ones that came in the last set of Beastgrave. Want to see a whole faction of those. That would be incredible, but not yet anyway. So one of the things I do like though is I don't know why, I'm a sucker for dice. I just like these. They look great. There's going to be a Black Library novel that's been released with it. And then we move into... Now keep in mind, this stuff is all... it's delayed a week in the US because of shipping concerns, which we'll talk about later because there's some fantastic irony that my buddy Brent pointed out to me. But essentially for these, we're getting the 4 Warcry books here pretty soon. They're going to be kind of staggered. I think the UK is going to get them first, and then we'll get them second. It's whatever. It'll come when it comes. I'm not super worried about it. Let's see. They have background tables, and the only thing I'm curious about, and I haven't heard a ton of information, is are these just collating all the other rules cards that they put out with the background tables, or is there new content here? And honestly, I'm going to buy them either way because I want to have them. But I mean, I would obviously like to have new stuff, so that'd be kind of interesting. What else? One thing I will say, there was a lot of folks expressing discontent, we'll say, regarding how many times the rules for these older or existing armies that are moving into Warcry have been released, because you had limited edition limited release cards. You had then the book. What is it? Was it the Tome of Champions? Yeah, it had like whatever the year before's releases were, and I understand it sucks straight up. Games Workshop has actually not ever sent me a Warcry thing, so what you see is stuff that I bought, and so. You know, as someone who's also a consumer in this, I understand. But when I look at this, I see the same thing that they did with Necromunda, which is they had a huge fumble when they launched the product, and now they're trying to right the ship. And that process of righting the ship in terms of making rules equally available to everybody and accessible, and you know, using what they already have as a product as a jumping in point, I think it's awkward and not always terribly well done. But when we get to the final part, I think it'll be really, really great. By that I mean, in Necromunda, you used to have like 5 freaking books to play a faction. Now you have your gang boxes and your gang book. That kind of thing, where it's like it's becoming much, much clearer as your path of purchases goes. Again, if you've been someone who's been a fan forever and you've been purchasing everything, it does suck. But I think ultimately in the future, it'll be good for everybody. So anyway, let's see. I'm not even going to try to pronounce your name. I'm so sorry. LV over in the chat. Which warband are you interested in for Underworlds? Basically, the Seraphon interests me, the Slaves to Darkness, and there's been a few others that I just like the models for. Like, I don't know if I would ever actually use them, but like I just love the models for the Fire Slayer ones, kind of a thing. I want to try some different skin tones on them. Anyway, for Warcry, get some shiny, smexy new dice. I love it. This is a specifically cool set. Yeah, I don't know. I like dice. And then, they're going to release this is actually the fastest turnaround I've seen from a boxed set where the models were exclusive at launch to actually getting the product separate, because the Knight Stalkers and the Scions of the Flame are coming out, as well as the Legions of Nagash and the Sylvaneth. So that's all dropping here soon. Scions of the Flame, built these models. I haven't primed them yet. They're incredible. They go together like a dream. I had some trouble with the Corvus Cabal ones, but yeah. And then they dropped on us the thing that I'm most excited for. And I'm hoping that they take elements from Catacombs and build it in here. So whichever one you want, the Tome of Champions 2020. Packed with new rules for open and narrative and match play, including multiplayer pit fights, new fated quests, and challenge battles, as well as a sprawling narrative campaign set in the city of Soroth Core. I love it. Define the city for me. I did that video on Karngrad where it's like we need to know more areas of the 8 points for Warcry to kind of have more impact, and I'm very excited about that. So yeah, let's see. We're gonna go down, and there's just a few more Black Library things, pin badges, which I'm not really like a collector guy. It's so strange. Like, you would think I would be, but I'm just not. It's whatever. Okay, we're gonna move on to the next article here, and I believe I don't have a ton to talk about here, but the next White Dwarf, issue 459, it's got a whole bunch of stuff coming in it, and it's actually gonna have a whole bunch of goodies from my understanding. So you have, first off, Tome Celestial, Grim Scuttle Tribes. It's going to be rules for the Spiderfang from Gloomspite Gits. And I believe, someone correct me if I'm wrong, does that mean that every subsection of Gloomspite Gits has gotten some support? Because they had the Squiggleanch one, and there was the Trog one, I believe. I think there was a Trog one, and now there's a Spiderfang. I think so. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. But I think it's very clear that that army needs some love, which is, I don't know. I love it. I want them to be good. Zaku says make spiders good again. I'd love to see them more. The only thing I don't like specifically is just the standard rider. I think the rider looks a little too static. The spiders all look great. The Ragnarok's awesome. All of that. but on the base model, the Spider Rider is just a little rough. They also have this thing, Necromunda endgame scenarios. I know most folks are not super into Necromunda. I love the setting, and anytime, so the idea here is like missions that are supposed to wrap up the narrative that you and your friends have been building throughout the campaign, and that's a cool idea no matter what game system it is, right? Endgame scenarios would be really cool for AOS or Warcry or, you know, anything like that. So, yeah. Let's see. There was a Squig and Troggoth update in the White Dwarfs. Okay. Yeah, but the Squigs all kind of fall under the Moon Clan Grot, I think, umbrella. I don't know. I like it, though. Anyway, so we're going to move right on. And, let's see. Something else that is coming in. Okay, these are all campaigns things. Just going into more detail. There's something else here. In that same one, I'll skip ahead. In November's issue of White Dwarf, that's 458 if you're counting, even has rules for using him in Warcry. Okay, so it's a different issue. This is the current one that's out now. But basically, if you weren't here for it, when you bought the issue that had, after Gotrek was released in AOS, they did the same thing. They had a release that had missions for him and a printed card for him, and he is a baller. He's a one-man wrecking crew in that game, just like he is in proper Age of Sigmar. So, yeah, I don't know. I like it. Let's see. What is Necromunda? Like Warcry to AOS? Yeah, it pretty much is. So instead of being, it's its own thing. Okay, so let me try to break this down as quickly as possible. One of the many worlds that exists in the narrative of Warhammer 40k is a specific planet called Necromunda, where it is this bleak, oppressive, dark, unforgiving thing, and the whole planet is basically run by gangs. And as long as the gangs keep the Imperium happy by providing resources and money and blood and that kind of whatever they need, they get left alone. And so what you're playing is you construct a gang, but it's highly customizable, way more so than Warcry in terms of what they're armed with, how they level up, the abilities they get. It's just a lot more tactical depth and like bookkeeping and stuff like that. So it's kind of fits somewhere between a miniatures game and a roleplay game to an extent. So it's a lot of fun. I would check it out. The artwork for it is terrific. Yeah. Let's see. Why could they not give Bugman rules for AOS? I don't know. No say. We'll get rid of this one too. That's the other White Dwarf article. Okay, so now we got some more information here about these Grand Alliance books. Okay, and I remember reading this one and I was like, there's just not a lot of information here. Let's see. If you ever want to see how the Ossiarch Bone Reapers or Cities of Sigmar would get on should they enter the skirmish fields of Warcry, you'll soon be able to muster warbands yourself. Okay, but that just says that they're reprinting the rules. Each book also includes background tables, several fated quests, and challenge battles for that Grand Alliance's warbands to fight in, enabling you to take each of them on a journey befitting their nature. Again, giving them all a custom, campaign is great in terms of everyone can feel like they're doing, kind of a faction-y thing, at least to start. But, yeah, I don't know. If you like to immerse yourself in narrative while playing, then you'll have the supporting rules and content to do exactly that. So, again, they're not directly stating this is a reprint of stuff that exists, but they also have yet to point out anything in these faction or Grand Alliance books that are really appealing to people who already own whatever they need. But the Tome of Champions, on the other hand, I'm very excited for. So I love the Tome model where every year, like the General's Handbook comes out, chapter approved for 40k. They put like a big rule supplement that's like, hey, here's just a bunch of cool ways to enjoy your hobby, right? Love it. They get rules updates, including rebalancing of the glory point system, as well as updates to reinforcements and the use of consumable items. There's a lot there, actually, because I was doing a campaign before the end of the world started, and we did have some trouble with the glory point system, because you could very easily get a runaway lead. but I think tuning that, as much as they did in Tournament of Champions 2019, helped a lot, and I'm curious as to see how they're going to do it anymore. As far as reinforcements go, I am assuming that they're going to integrate like the reinforcement system from the basically the hard mode that came in 2019's into the base game. That would be my assumption, where you have to spend glory to get new people, because otherwise it's just, I don't know, it's not really like a roster that you're building. It's just kind of taking whatever you want, and there's no consequences if your people die. Expanded rules for open play, Triumph and Treachery, pit fights, which is sweet. We actually covered, if you want to see it, I think it's Arena of Blood. It's I have a video about it, but they basically, some fan mates from Red Rose Wargaming came up with a fantastic free supplement for people to do all kinds of cool pit fighting games. They're not open play. If they have like specific battle plans and that kind of stuff, and you do use multiple fighters, it's not like everybody takes one. It's 1v1, that kind of stuff. But yeah. So, expanded rules for narrative play, detailed background on Soroth Core, the Silent City, and rules for playing a campaign within its long abandoned streets. It also includes new narrative battle plans, fated quests, and a Trial of Champions campaign that any warband can take part in. Now, there's a lot to unpack there. Basically, if they're picking a point and just letting people go like crazy, like we're all fighting within this same place. That's very different than what the campaigns are now, where, like, you know, every faction is on its own little journey, and you're just kind of battling people here and there as your story arcs kind of cross. But having one specific place where everybody's kicking teeth in sounds incredibly cool. So I'm all there for that. And then they also have match play stuff. And they have a complement of new objectives, hidden agendas, and running an escalation tournament. So I like that stuff. Abandoned city fights. It reminds me of something. Yeah, I don't know. Can't put my finger on it. Now, we got some cool stuff here. I know that I'm probably in the minority of not being super into the Dire Chasm warbands, but these models do give us a glimpse at what Slaanesh could look like in the future. So let's take a look here. We got Vasilic the Gifted. Okay, there's our leader. Okay, I assume. Yep, that is definitely him. One thing I want to see. After an activation, surviving fighters have 6 or more wound counters. After an activation, surviving fighters have 6 or more wound counters. That's an interesting thing. So if after the end of his activation, the question is it just his fighters? Because basically in Underworlds, your guys have an opportunity to go Super Saiyan. For every faction, it's a bit different, where basically they all have this thing in gold here where it triggers and they get better. You flip the card over and it's like the same card but gold, and they have like increased stats, like something makes them again go Super Saiyan. And so this is an interesting one. After an activation, so he finishes his activation, surviving fighters have 6 or more wound counters. I'm just curious as to what that means in terms of who has to have the wound counters. Is it sum total on the board? It's interesting. Do dead people count? Like if you kill a guy by inflicting 4 wounds, do those 4 wounds count? I'm just curious. Anyway, let me move on to, was it Corset? That's the best name ever. All these names sound vaguely uncomfortable, like when you say moist and some people just recoil in horror. Hadzu, okay, I like him. And Slake Slash, I like that one a lot. Slake Slash, and this guy, hopefully we're getting some Slangor in the future as a whole unit. I'm curious as to how tall he actually is, because Zengor are already fairly tall, but his legs look so much longer. Then again, I guess he is a little more hunched forward. He doesn't have to be radically taller, but if you're kind of looking at how they're all playing, honestly, it looks like a more melee version of the Eyes of the Nine, where you have, this is your brawler, like he just can nail out the damage, and everything else kind of acts like a lighter support piece. Yeah, very interesting. And they give you a glimpse into some of the cards. I'm not going to go through them because, quite honestly, Oh, you can see the heights and the how to build video. Thank you, Journalist. I didn't follow their video on YouTube's. I hope Slangors look like that. Yeah. Slake Slash and the boss are both easily like the head taller than the mooks. Well, good. I mean, they definitely like steal the visuals there. All right, and so here we are with the Lumineth Realm Lord one. Again, only thing I have against this whole warband is the fact that their lore was not inside their battle tome. It's whatever. It's fine. It's fine. It's whatever. It's fine. Their leader, Miari Lightcaller. I'm curious, does anyone know what unit is he supposed to be within the game? Like, if he were an AOS hero, or is there an equivalent unit? I'm not sure. This fighter's attack, defense, or casting roll only contains successes. That is interesting for... Yeah, to make him go, you know, his super mode is very interesting because like, you don't have control over that. I mean, you can do things, I guess, if his deck is stacked with like rerolls and that kind of stuff, you can try to get it, but interesting that his thing is reliant on dice rolls so heavily. And typically, well, I guess I can't think of an example where it's not, but whatever one of the warband members has, they all have. So I think he is a unique model, like Malog. Okay. I mean, that's good in the sense of like they're okay with adding stuff to a faction that's so new. But on the flip side, it's like, man, a non-named basic hero dude would have dramatically made that book more interesting, because then you can actually like use artifacts and junk in a more meaningful way. So anyway, that won't be terrible if they are counting supports as successes. Oh, that's a fantastic point there, Spezia. Yeah, maybe they just hunker down and work together. Yeah, I mean, this guy's got a, what, 2-inch range stone mallet? Yeah, I mean, they're all long range, except for her. Okay, cool. Well, he'd say he can't be driven back. He gets one more attack, looks like. Oh, and he gains some special abilities. Okay, these are pretty cool. Alien the Mind's Edge. Okay, this closest one I can think of is the Stone Mage. Yeah, he's definitely a different kind of mage. He is a wizard. Interesting. Okay, and then we're gonna scroll down here. We got Senella, something like that. Okay, and her. Oh, that's weird. Her level up, her going Super Saiyan, the only thing that affects her stats is she gets a longer range on the bow. She gets some extra, you know, abilities here on the right, but that's interesting. Let's see. Score this in an end phase if there are 3 or more surviving fighters, and each surviving fighter is inspired. That's a lot. Okay. I mean, honestly, when I make comments on these cards, understand I am not good at Underworlds. I'm very new to that game. Whenever I do a stream, it's always a learning stream because it's just hard to keep up and stuff. But yeah, we're gonna see a theme today as we tackle the rest of these articles here. Things are delayed globally, and we're gonna have a chat about that. But yeah, the Sword Lady is also unique. Yep, because there's just Spearmen. You playing Underworlds live got me interested. Picked up Beastgrave and plan to get Dire Chasm. That's so cool. Thank you so much for joining me on that. Okay, and then Dire Chasm Corset is available for pre-order tomorrow. Let's see. Oh, okay, this is the thing where they have the building the set. I'm not worried about that. That's just kind of a fluff, let's go sell me some stuff article. Now, let's see. We have this new model called the Shard Speaker of Slaanesh. Very interesting stuff. Now, one of the things I love about it is because the first time I saw it, I was like, oh, it's a Lumineth dude, because it's got this like bull aesthetic, and I was like, no, these bulls are way sexier. Okay, let's see. And so that's exactly what it is. It's Slaanesh, has the golden calf kind of head aesthetic, which is just baller. I love the mist. Games Workshop's ability to sculpt mist and clouds and stuff has always been my favorite. There's other companies that do stuff, and I think they just kind of overdo it a little bit. whereas I think they nail it at the GW design studio. Really do like the model. I'm curious as to where we're going to see this fit in into the rest of the faction. There's a fantastic piece of artwork. Absolutely love it. What's interesting is the head looks like the actual bull's head. It looks like it comes out further on the model, whereas this looks very scrunched up on her forehead. So I don't know. Well, curious, but seems like a very cool model. I would really love to. Her hand looks cramped. Oh, like the one holding the thing. Yeah, I like it. I mean, I like it. Again, I haven't liked Slaanesh at all because I don't like the really any of the demon stuff doesn't speak to me. But everything they've been doing with the mortals just seems like a win. I don't know if I'll actually like buy into it, but yeah. And actually, while I was talking, 2 more articles went up, or at least I noticed that they went up. So we're going to talk about those real quick. The first one, probably one of my favorite things ever that Brent pointed out. Nurgle's loyal disciples will have to wait a little longer for the new Death Guard Codex and accompanying releases as events outside of our control. It used to say COVID-19 has caused unavoidable delays in crucial shipments. And so you can tell they edited it real quick because they missed a space. But it was the best. It was just like, wow, that's like so much irony. There's too many diseases to get this disease army out there. But they did offer some consolation prizes. Basically, you can download their Primarch, their big guy, his War Scrolls, so you can start playing with them, or data sheet, whatever they call them. And a free wallpaper and stuff like that. So, it is what it is. Honestly, I think 2020, I think we can all agree, is the year of flexibility when it comes to all this stuff. So, yeah. It's like Chaos Realm Lords. GW must like the cowheads. Oh, I like it. Reminds me of the villain from Power Rangers. Oh, yeah. Oh, man. I can see her face. I can hear her voice. Is it Rita Repulsa? Steven named it. And oh, you nailed it, buddy. I know. I got the Rita part, and I was like... I remember when I was a kid. I grew up in a largely Hispanic neighborhood. And... when I saw Rita Repulsa, my neighbor's name was Rita, and she was like the sweetest lady. And I just kind of like did like the Fry from Futurama, like the narrow eyes, where you're like, that kind of thing. Because I was just too young to understand like different other people can have the same name. All of a sudden, it's more strange that this fictional space sorceress has Rita as a name. Anyway, and then the biggest changes coming to Dire Chasm. Okay. The new season of Warhammer Underworld still takes place in Gur beneath Beastgrave, the living mountain. As raw, untamed hunger flowed through the mountain's core, it purged itself of the solid amber that once filled the region known as Dire Chasm. Fearsome things that once slept there now stir from their rest. Dare you enter and face such terrors? I love it. Basically, it is it's a living mountain that was full of this weird amber material that would like entrap people and do all kinds of crazy things. And the idea is that now one of the sections of it has opened up, and that's where this season takes place. The new Dire Chasm box set introduces 2 new warbands. We already saw the pictures of them. I will say that between the 2 names, Maori's Purifiers and the Dread Pageant is the better name. Let's just be honest. They understand branding and marketing in Slaanesh's world. They kind of re-show us the roadmap. Again, really love the Slaves to Darkness. I've loved everything I've seen about the Seraphon so far. Whatever's going on here with our vampire person, I love it. There's some debate on whether or not this is Spiderfang or Savage Orcs, Bone Splitters. And then Ossiarch and possibly Lumineth, I think was one person I saw. So, interesting. Okay, here we go. New rules. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. Especially true in Warhammer Underworlds now, as taking a fighter with a wounds characteristic of 6 or more nets you 2 glory points instead of just 1. So that's pretty awesome because some of the fighters, Hrothgorn, which is the ogre one. Sorry, I don't know, the hunter. I was trying to think of the actual unit's name, but the Beast Claw Raider guy, Malog, which is the troll. Those kinds of things. They've been causing balance issues in the past, and so yeah. Let's see. Down here, a little help from your friends. The rules around supporting fighters have also been simplified, which is good because that's something that's confused me in the online version, making it much easier for warriors to help out their buddies in a tight spot. The attacker still receives support for each friendly fighter adjacent to the target, while the defender gets support from each friendly fighter next to the attacker. However, you no longer need more supporting fighters than your opponent to count the support symbol on your dice. That was the thing that always confused me, because the second you got to that point of like, who has more, it got really, really tedious, because then all of a sudden you're counting all the fighters and that kind of stuff. So that's awesome. I think it's a great change of just more things count. So we're all having this big brawl. More things will happen, right? There's more attacking dice working. There's more defending dice working. I like it. New event types and formats. Interesting. Events have always been a big part of Warhammer Underworlds, and the new season sees some new options introduced. Local clashes are more casual events, while grand clashes are the ultimate test for players, with the winners getting an invite into the Grandmasters event to determine the world's best player. Okay. Grand brawls use the Arena Mortis rules, while grand battles let you take part in a team of 3. Finally, there are Grand Skirmishes events that use a single round instead of the best of 3 format used in Grand Clashes. Oh my god, there's so much. Their use of the word grand, I want to slap somebody. So there's brawls, battles, clashes. This is a Warhammer Underworlds as it's played in dark rooms at the back of bars. So what? That is the dumbest sentence I've ever read. Okay. Just between the overabundance of the grand word and then saying that this is just like, a bar game. Okay. As well as the existing championship format, which features a rota for cards. Features features errata for cards, and the relic format, maybe they meant rotation for cards, which allows cards from various, which allows cards from across all seasons of Warhammer Underworlds. There is now an Arena Mortis format and a new Vanguard format. Vanguard only allows cards from the current season of Warhammer Underworlds. So as new warbands are released, new cards become available and the challenge intensifies. This format is much more accessible for new players, as they no longer have the disadvantage if they don't know warbands and cards from previous seasons, while it also provides challenge for veteran players. That is interesting. Vanguard only allows cards from the current season. And that would apply, because that means you can't use... Well, someone correct me if I'm wrong, okay? You could you, under that thing, only allows cards from the current season. Could I still take I'm just going to pick a random, the Iron Jaws one, right? The old school Iron Jaws one. Can I take that warband as long as all of the cards and the upgrades and the objectives I use are from the current season? I'm very curious about that. Because if I can use the same warband and the Vanguard format simply limits it to what is currently in this year's docket, I think that would be awesome. Like, I actually really think that would be cool. That is so much more simple than me trying to understand all these card names from forever ago. So, I don't know. I'm curious if they count the actual, yes, but all the universal cards must be from Dire Chasm. But not just the universal cards. Faction specific can be from any set. See, that's my understanding with the championship format, but isn't Vanguard only allows cards from current season of Warhammer Underworlds? Such a format makes it accessible for new players who are no longer at a disadvantage. I don't know. I don't think so. If they don't own warbands and cards from previous seasons. Yeah, I don't know. Because I would think that's the championship format, where you limit the number, what universal cards are in play, and then Vanguard seems like its own thing. So I need a little clarification on that, but I'm sure they'll deliver once, because I'm sure this whole week they're building up all different kinds of information for Dire Chasm and stuff. So that's an interesting format. I would love it. I think that it would make the game much more interesting. Vanguard would have to allow the faction-specific or the older warbands wouldn't be playable in that format. Huh. Are faction-specific cards that? Well, yeah, I guess they would be. Interesting. I don't know. This is why I didn't do card games before. Because of stuff like this. Where you're just like, what works and what doesn't. You know, give me a clear breakdown. That kind of stuff. Whatever. We'll figure it out. Let's see. I'm going to move down to the downward cam. And we're going to... Let's see. Move my chat over so I can see it a little easier. You can do that for normal Dire Chasm. I use Sepulchral Guard and Beastgrave. You can take faction-specific cards and universal cards from Beastgrave, I believe. Yeah, I don't know. I'm confused. I'm gonna wait for more vague articles that don't really answer the question. As GW is prone to do. So the thing I wanted to talk about today, and it's not going to be a particularly long discussion, is I wanted to chat about what I'd like to see or possible leads that we can get from the Broken Realms book in books, plural, in the future. I do believe that they are going to lead up narratively into the next edition of AOS, mainly because I don't know, just the big sweeping changes that are happening and all that kind of stuff. So as far as like what could happen, there's a lot of ways they could go, and I just kind of want to list off some of the narrative threads that they've thrown out there oh so casually. So you have, first of all, Morathi became a god, and we've seen some of the consequences of that, but not a ton. Because like we never got like Sigmar's response or anything like that. Then when they went to the 8 points, we found out that Archaon has a new weapon that will allow him to basically steal Stormcast souls and kind of deposit them in war shrines. At least that's the version we saw. And what else? Then there was other things that we know are happening in the background is Gordrak is making his way to the city of Excelsius with a god beast's head, so he can smash down the gates of the city. There's just a lot going on, you know. Malarian, yep, there's more. Look at it this way, they won't invent a format that includes more players by kicking out other players. That's fair. Interesting. I mean, I would absolutely run a first season warband in the current iteration of the game. Why not? I'm here to lose, but have fun in a fun way. So yeah, there's a whole lot of narrative like threads that they can pull on. Archaon is also trying to break down the gates of Azir, and we don't have any confirmation that Morathi actually foiled that plan. Even though, like, that's why she went there in the first place. It's never explicitly said that she took enough Varanite away from him to foil that. All we know is that he had a plan to do it, and she took some of the Varanite. And that's an interesting concept of, like, maybe she... Not that she's helping him because she wants to, like, she likes Archaon and like that, but inadvertently, right, by not taking... as much as she should have to actually stop his plan, inadvertently helping him. And honestly, that's kind of a sentiment we've seen before, right? I mean, Nagash was one of those who was like, I'll let chaos come and like beat the crap out of order forces, and then I will be strong enough to take them all on my own. And of course that didn't work well. He got his butt handed to him by Archaon, but they still try. And, she's just arrogant enough to think that she could do it. Nagash doesn't have an excuse. Oh, man. Let's see. If a second city falls so quickly, I'd really start doubting the ability to found them in the first place. I'm not sure if I would see Excelsius fall necessarily, but something. I don't know. But so yeah, we've got all that going on. So there's a lot of ways that things can go, and of course, you know, that's the story arc side of things. But in addition to that, you know, these are also going to be rule supplements, right? It seems like they've decided we're going to use these to supplement armies with cool new abilities and stuff, and kind of see how it all pans out. And I'm sure some of that will make it into their next iterations of battle tomes. So it's an exciting time to be playing AOS, to be honest with you. But so I guess my thought is initially, what factions do I think we're going to get buffed for next? And then kind of follow up with that, how do they fit into a cohesive story together? Now, that's assuming a lot, because I assume that they're going to do something like they did with Broken Realms Morathi, where it was one continuous story of Morathi's ascent to godhood, but it took on different aspects, like you know, or it interacted with different groups and factions. Whereas in future books, they don't necessarily have to be coherent stories like that. They could just be random snippets here and there, and that would kind of stink, because that's when you get into what like Psychic Awakening did in 40k, where it's just like none of the things are tied together really. So I'm not quite sure how that's going to pan out, but quite frankly, it's what I want. I want, you know, big sweeping changes, and I want to follow each of these different warlords as they all have a plan of what they think the mortal realm should look like. I guess for me, my biggest thing is I just want to see destruction armies rise up. Like, just getting tired of being either subjugated by the forces of chaos, or having the forces of order come in and try to tell them how to like run everything. And, you know, it's not good for business if you're an orc and someone's like, you can't attack these guys. It's like, I'll attack whatever I want to attack. This is my house. You're in my house. That kind of thing. So, I don't know. I think that's what I would like to see specifically next. I really would, you know, and they might move away from the story arc of like Gordrak rushing headlong towards Excelsius. That's fine if they do. If they want to take him somewhere else. But they built him up in that first Ironjawz battle tome, and to an extent in the second one as well, as like, he is the big guy for destruction, right? And that's kind of narrative where he fits in. Like, he is this herald of some big war, and Gorka Morka's chosen mouthpiece, but then he didn't do anything, you know? And that got really, really lame really fast, if I'm honest with you. So I definitely want to see him like doing things, making moves. Obviously, I don't need him to ascend to godhood, you know, just kind of reprint whatever Morathi did. But, you know, having him storm key places, or even have him tackle factions that they don't really show Ironjawz fighting all that much. Like, you know, they show a lot of stuff with like Chaos, or they never really showed a ton with Death outside of, there's a bunch of destruction factions banging on his door when he did the Necroquake, but like, they didn't do anything, they just died. So show us the destruction armies like actively doing cool things, I think would be a really nice change. Also, I want to know more about this spell that Archaon has to capture Stormcast, because they're not so eternal anymore. I mean, we've seen ways before that Stormcast can face like true death kind of a thing. But never have there been so many threats all at once. And the important thing about this one was that it's highly mobile, and it could be very, very plentiful, meaning like wherever there's a war shrine. Okay, well, war shrines, if they figured out that war shrines can help them beat Stormcast, there is going to be war shrines everywhere. Right? Like if Archaon was like, oh, this is a tool that works, he would exercise all of his might to making that tool everywhere and available to all his forces. So like, that's an interesting concept. We don't really know if it's only tied to war shrines, but that's what we saw in the story, so that's kind of what I'm running with. Let's see. Give me a battle for Armageddon, but the city of Excelsius. Oh yeah, that'd be cool. Be cool. Yeah, I mean, and I would love. I mean, honestly, a battle for a city could turn into such a cool campaign system, where like you divide a map into a few different places and features, and you can, you know, kind of play out the story that way. Because in that way you can lift it straight from there and you can use it for anything. It doesn't have to be specifically the battle for Excelsius. My problem with the campaign section of Broken Realms Morathi was that it was just so hyper specific. Like if you don't own these very specific units and a very specific number of them, you can't really use that campaign system, which I think is a miss, to be honest. But, you know, it was their design thing. It's what they wanted to do. Since Chaos is busy with the 8 points, have Orcs overrun small outposts in other areas? Yeah, I'd be down with that. Heck, not even small outposts. Go big. Get you a Gordrak who can do both. Take big cities and small outposts. But yeah, I don't know. And that was kind of the thing. I just wanted to throw that out there for a discussion and see what you all thought. What would you like to see from Broken Realms? I mean, I want to see Broken Realms Gordrak. I made the joke about Broken Realms Lotan at one point, and people thought I was being serious at 1 second. Like, I thought you wanted that for Deepkin. Looks like you're not getting it. I'm like, bruh, I'm so happy with Morathi, the Morathi book. It was just made my month. I hope they bring back Stoneclaw Gutstompa from Firestorm. It was a very fun allegiance. Yeah. He's been in a story, right? I feel like I did a story that covered him. Or I did him for my Anvil Apotheosis. Yeah, where he has a Mork head and a Gork head, little angel and devil inside of his head that just tell him what to do. He has to choose constantly. I like that kind of stuff. They made a very characterful set of orc stuff. I don't know if I'll get a special model, but yeah, even just having rules for him would be sweet. I would settle for that. As far as other things, I'll try to think of other stuff. What's more going on with Death? At this point, Death, it looks like, has taken a back seat, which is fine with me. We spent a lot of time in Shyish and, you know, between Malign Portents and Malign Sorcery and the Ossiarch Bone Reaper stories and Wrath of the Everchosen, I feel like it's been very Death-focused last bit. And quite frankly, I for one am ready to move on, not because it's not fun anymore, but because there's just other stories to tell. You know, other factions to explore. That kind of thing. But I am kind of curious, now that we're doing this stuff, like, we haven't seen Nagash brooding too much over his failure. Although I don't know if he would even perceive it if he saw it as a failure, to be honest with you. He's too all up in his own head. Let's see. I'm hoping that if they really plan on removing a Anvil Guard from Cities of Sigmar, that they just make a new monster-focused city. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, part of me would really love it if they were like, okay, Cities of Sigmar was a great book because we tested it as a format of having these huge alliances and that kind of stuff, and, you know, made an army book that was very easy to bolt on new rules to, and now we're going to take it in a different direction, you know? I mean, I remember when that book came out, I was slightly disappointed that they used the Firestorm campaign cities, because one, that was already tread ground. I wanted new stuff. But also, I guess when I was speculating on what the city's book could be like in terms of how it's put together, I was really hoping that it was going to be more like you create your own settlement narratively, and then the rules dictate how big it is. So for example, instead of picking Anvilgard or, you know, those kinds of cities, Hammerhall, whatever, instead what you would do is be like, oh, my city is a small settlement, my city is a major city, and like the size of your society would dictate what resources it had available, whereas like smaller pioneer ones would be better at like scouting and mobility, and larger cities would be better at, you know, defenses and that kind of stuff. Josh Nash, oh, thank you, buddy. That's so awesome. Thank you. You're too kind. Just hanging out, doing some painting, speculating wildly as I don't generally do. I really don't. People have asked me, oh, why don't you do more prediction videos? It's like, because I don't like predicting things. Okay. But this, you know, the truth is there's just so many ways that they could go, and that's such an exciting thing, right? It's exciting when the game was so defined by people saying it had no lore or terrible lore in the beginning, and now it's just like, where's the story going to go? It can go so many flippin' ways. I love it. Sounds like Oathmark. I don't know what Oathmark is. I'm sorry. Every time I do a stream, y'all get to see just how much nerd cred I don't have. Question, do you think Archaon will use the souls to create Chaos Stormcast? I don't know. Because we saw him like capturing them, but we never saw him do anything with them. You know what I mean? In terms of like, does he have the ability like Nagash did, spoiler alert from Soul Wars, it doesn't really spoil much, but where he can like really tinker with them in any way? Or is he just getting them so that, one, Sigmar doesn't have them? Which is, I mean, is equally devastating, right? So is it just that, or is there more to it? Like, is he going to do something with them? And actually, it made me think a lot about the Chaos Sorcerer that we saw when AOS first launched, Efrix, in Chaman. He was capturing Stormcast souls to use basically he was using them like batteries, essentially, for powering spells and stuff like that, and that would be a really cool thing. Like, what if he accrued enough of them to act as a battery that he could either, you know, unlock the gates of Azir with enough power, there's a lot of ways you can go with that, capture a giant monster, I don't know, just use them as raw energy for something. I think could be a really cool idea. But, you know, that narrative thread of using them as energy, just straight energy, you don't need this, you know, who cares who they were, you don't need to change the souls or anything like that, but you're just using them as raw power. That's rad. Spezia, yes, that was who I'm talking about. Yep, it is Efrix. Efrix was all about using them Duracell Stormcast. Let me see. Okay, skin's panning out. I want to try one. I just want to try it. Dry brushing. Let's see, my dry brush. I want to see how stark the difference is. I also want to see Alariel's war aspect. Yeah, actually, that's something we can really talk about. Is Alariel technically showed up in the Broken Realms of Marathi as she had to allow the other forces into the 8 points through the Genesis gate that she has control over. And I honestly thought that they were going to do more with her in that story, but they ended up that's kind of her role. But we never saw them, one, close the gate, which is important. And you know, that was her extent of involvement. So it's like, okay, I think it wouldn't be crazy to see, you know, something went wrong when the Stormcasts were trying to hold open that gate so they're, you know, so the other forces could come back. Maybe something crept in. I don't know. I think it'd be really cool if, you know, while the Genesis gate was open, Skaven assassins and stuff moved in through it, and now she's got an even bigger rat problem than she had before with just Clan Pestilence, and now it's like all about defending Girain from the Skaven, and that would be a great way to slide their, you know, if they were getting a rules supplement in any way, slide those in. I'm not gonna lie to you. For these guys who are already somewhat painted, the dry brushing actually looks really good. I might go back and patch up some of the more broader parts, like the shoulders and stuff, but I'm gonna do that for right now because honestly, they got so messed up from skin looking chef's kiss. Oh, thank you. Let's see. Ogre Gutbusters to be... let's see. Waiting for Ogres to come in. Oh, yeah. And, I mean, you know, the second they announce that Ogres are going to be in the next Broken Realms whatever book, that's when I got to sell them, you know? Buy low, sell high. Here on the Age of Sigmar stock market that is 2+ tough. Boom, flip it. Question, speaking of Skaven, does Clan Pestilence respond to Archaon's call? Like would he specific, because like they work with other chaos factions, specifically Nurgle things, and I think I've read that he like doesn't really care for them because they're always duplicitous and they're annoying as all heck to try and coordinate for a war effort, which just makes, you know, that checks out. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think he would ever have them as like a champion of his, just because of how capricious they can be. Not that all the rats from other clans would, but this Pestilence will kind of work autonomously with Nurgle stuff. Like the individual priest in charge of a group will be like, yeah, absolutely, I'll work with you, totally, I'll help you guys out, and then they like ditch the Rotbringers on the battlefield. Also love the new Ogre Mod Tribes lore. Everwinter fluff is awesome. I'll be honest, the Everwinter stuff is my least favorite part, but I love every other aspect of that book. And I don't actually hate the Everwinter, I want them to explain it a bit more. Because people leave great questions on those videos. If you look at the description or the comments on some of those videos, fantastic questions. I was like, oh. Games Workshop didn't see fit to tell us, so why are you asking me? Okay, thoughts on best bits to get conversions on Ogres. Ooh. Best bits, huh? For conversions on Ogres. Well, honestly, other Ogres. There's a lot of extra bits on each kit. Beyond that, like the Gargants have a lot of bits you can do a lot of things with. The thing is finding stuff that's big, right? That fits scale-wise. Yeah. Oh, wait, here we go. Question from Lady Greg. Speaking of Skaven, what is the current status of the Horned Rat and how might that change with Slaanesh back? You know, honestly, we haven't seen anything from the Horned Rat in forever. So I don't know. Like, honestly, the last time he was even really mentioned was just their battle tome, right? I can't think of much, certainly like in the sweeping arc of narrative stuff. Can anybody else think of anything with the Horned Rat? Let's see, Joey123. Let me just ask this, and there's no wrong answer, but don't feel. Are you new to AOS? Because since the game's launch, Slaanesh has been locked away in a secret prison that is apparently not so secret because now everybody knows where it is, and kind of kept there against his will. And so the elves have been slowly pulling elven souls out of him, trying to, I don't know, rebuild their race. And it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. Let's see. Question: what is a good army to start at the moment? At the moment, best armies I think, like to start, Ironjaws are fantastic because the rules are simple. They're very straightforward, and their book is pretty new. Yeah, I think that they're a great one. Ironjaws are fantastic. What else? Stormcast are always, I don't know if I like them right like in their current battle tome thing, but they're always getting new options because they are kind of the poster boys they will tend to get more attention and love than other factions. So that's if you want a sure bet, it'll always come back around to being a good for Stormcast kind of a thing. Let's see what else. What other good factions to start right now? Flesh Eater Courts is probably the easiest, always has been to get into because of the way that their army is structured. You can buy a couple of start collecting boxes and basically get every unit you'll ever want from them. What else? I think those are my top picks for sure. Been playing Warhammer since 2013, but I'm young. Yeah. So if you want to go check that out, I would say, I'm trying to think of videos on my channel to point you towards. Yeah, I mean, I actually have a Slash video. I would just suggest checking that out. But yeah, okay, let's see. Crypt Hunter Courtier, so good. Is he? Yeah. But Tree Guy, that's what I would suggest is those couple ones. The Iron Jaws are very, like, rules-wise, very new person friendly. Probably the most new person friendly out there. And they also are some of the most straightforward when it comes to, like, actually building an army. Whereas, like, some armies like Skaven can be a lot to wrap your head around when it comes to, like, how to make a legal list and that kind of stuff. So, you know, or how the different units interact with one another. Not one that I would lightly suggest for new folks. How much time passed? Okay, here we go. Stephen Chan, I have a feeling... Okay, there's a bunch of questions. I missed. Hold on a second. Question, what do you think Malarian's army will be like? You know, Shadow Elves is a term that's been thrown around, but that's all I know. I don't know. I'd love it if he went kind of... I was going to say Batman, but that's not quite what I mean. I mean, like, literal bat people. I love, like, human monster hybrid, that kind of stuff. Like, I love the Kinnerai and the Melusai, something like that. Let's see. I have a feeling those starter sets are not long for this world. Combat patrol boxes may be the future. You know, Stephen, I agree with you. You're probably right. My thing is, I don't think they will go away until we get the next edition of the game. Because the combat patrol boxes work, because combat patrol is a format and a size of game that works, right? Like, it's part of a narrative campaign. The idea is you can buy this and jump in and start playing. But AOS doesn't have anything like that. If they made a series of, like, you know, Path to Glory boxes that were a little bit bigger, it had more models in them, and then obviously a price point that matched it, you know, then I think we would see the start collecting box model go away. But I think they hit a home run with the combat patrols. I personally think that. And there's a lot of folks who are all up in arms about the prices, but the truth is there's something really nice about being able to, like, look at a product on a shelf, grab it, and boom, you have an army. Like, straight up, no questions, no arguments. You just build it and start playing right away. Sorry, my neighbors are banging on the wall really hard. Let's see. How much time has passed in the Age of Sigmar story? I know that 40k has progressed about 1,000 years. We don't quite have an exact number, to be honest with you. I swear it seems like they are avoiding specific dates very intentionally. But no, we don't quite know. A couple hundred years at least, because we don't even really know. We don't have a good sense of when the events of what is it? The events of, what am I trying to say? Wrath of the Everchosen. I don't know why I couldn't think of the name of that book. when those happen in relation, we know that like the Marathi stuff happened afterwards, but that's not descriptive at all. Yeah, I don't know. I wish there was a bit of a more formal timeline, but I'm just tidying up the biggest, flattest areas on this guy. Yeah, I think that's the way I'm gonna do it with these, specifically with these ones that were already kind of painted, is just quick dry brush and then pick out some of the high points. Going through and doing layers on every single arm and that kind of stuff, it just didn't, those first two I did, I don't know, don't care for them. Looking at the chat here. Wasn't the term Umberneth? Yep. But I mean, physical descriptions, we don't have anything. Yes, but Umberneth seems to be possibly the name of what they're going with, which I'd be cool with. Again, I don't do much in the way of speculation. For me, I like to just sit back and like, you know what, GW, entertain me. Yeah, show me something cool, and that's why I'm never disappointed after a preview show. And then I was on my our Discord, and people were like, "What? That's all we got? We didn't get this, blah blah blah." And I was just like, "You know, I missed the point. Just lean back, let him show you some cool stuff." Okay. And here we are. Okay, let's see. What are you going to do with the Ogre's pants? So the test model I did, actually, do I have him near me? Oh, I do. Give me one sec here. I'll show you exactly what I'm going to be doing. So essentially, they're going to have like this red rock earth beneath them, and so I wanted the pants to be very intentionally dark, so that it's not just too bright everywhere. So they were like these contrast blue and greens, but I went over them with black. And then for the test model I just did a quick dry brush of corn red of all things, just to kind of work in some different earthy tones, you know, warmer tones. Let me show you here. So this is what I got. I'm going to show you, I don't have the, I have the base done on the Tyrant, but not on him yet. But essentially, yeah, just having like a red rock earth, and then the pants act as a good dark way to break it up. I did obviously do a little bit like just barely highlights with some gray on there, but keeping it pretty simple, pretty minimal. Glowing red weapons, or the clubs are going to be glowing red. The swords, honestly, I tried it and it just did not look good, so I'm going to skip that. Yeah, I want the ogres to be pretty simple. I want to focus more on the tattoos and stuff on their skin. So that's kind of the idea. That's what I was going for. So, yeah. So I'm keeping them, for me, keeping stuff simple is the way to go. Hi Doug, what's on the agenda for today? More ogres? Yep, I'm about to hop off here pretty soon. My voice is going out. Haven't quite recovered from the 5-hour live stream. I'm still feeling a little rough around my vocal cords, but that's all right. Small price to pay. Which I just want to end here today by saying thank you again to everybody who contributed to that. We raised over $800 for Toys for Tots. That was such a cool thing. Things that you can look forward to this coming week. I'm going to announce the next lore contest, so people can get to writing over the holiday season when COVID locks us all inside our homes, and we all need something to do before we go insane. And so that's going to be the idea there. What else? Okay, we got that. We got lore videos for Death Rattle Kingdoms and the War of Life. And I'm going to start reading some of the Broken Realm stories, like the actual short stories that Games Workshop puts out for us for free. Just narrating them, adding a little pizzazz, and then so I'm going to read the story, and then at the end of it kind of talk about possible implications and that kind of stuff. So that is my plan for the week. But don't get to writing quite yet, because there are some specifics with this time's lore contest. I'm going to rein it in a little bit. Last time it was good. It was a lot of fun, but I left it a little bit too open-ended, and so it got kind of hard to rate them kind of fairly, if you know what I mean. Like, because one person would send in like a gorgeous like converted army and be like, this is the story that I built around them, which is awesome, but it's limited to the GW model range, and so that to me it felt very different in tone than someone who just like, here's just a short story from somewhere randomly in the Mortal Realms. It didn't have to have anything that like they actually did modeling wise, so they just kind of felt different. So I want to kind of rein it in a little bit, be a little more specific, and yeah, I think it's going to be our best one yet. Let me just finish this one last guy here. You're coming together pretty quickly. I like them. I threw the Beastclaw Raider portions up online because I was looking at them, because I got them. They were part of the deal for like, it was a screaming deal, and I kind of viewed the Beastclaw stuff as like just like a after bonus, and then I was like, you know, they don't fit into the fire themed story that I kind of had built up in my head, so I was like, I'm just gonna get rid of them. I'm not excited to paint them. I'm never gonna paint them. All right. Love the skin, good work. Oh, thank you so much. Anyone notice the super slight buff in the shooting phase mortal wound output of Sequitors? Nope. Of Sequitors? Oh, no, didn't notice a single thing about it, but I'm interested. I'm gonna go check it out now. So friends, thank you all so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed just taking some time to hang out, talk about the news, and paint a little bit. Again, Broken Realms, I'm so excited for it. Every single time one of them comes out, I'm gonna be doing a week-long story arc thing for them, and I'm so excited to do that with you. So anyway, catch you next time, y'all. See that you make sure you have a wonderful, wonderful week, and I will catch you all next time.